Hey guys, Andy coming at you here from Mediocre Hobbies, and today I shall be bringing you the first video in my Bretonnian Diaries. So Warhammer the Old World is something very near and dear to my heart, and the fact they are bringing it back makes me very, very excited. I've already made the active and conscious decision that I will be championing this game quite a lot on my channel, making sure that it gets as much exposure as it possibly can, hopefully growing the community inside that game system and keeping it going strong for a long time to come. So that's something, a little side project that I want to do on top of all the other things I do on this channel. I definitely want to do a lot of videos for the Old World, show you guys how awesome the game system actually is, and hopefully take you along on this journey with me. So one of the things I decided to do is I'm going to start with my Bretonnian army. It is one of the first armies I ever bought in the Old World back in the day, and honestly I was never able to paint it. It was such a big, complex and scary thing, a Bretonnian army, and I want to go through with you guys in some videos and some diaries how I go from having this blank army to a fully painted and hopefully beautiful force. So this is only the very tip of the spear of what I have for the collection, so you'll be seeing a lot more stuff coming in the very near future. But today I'm going to start with something that has basically stopped me for a long time, and that is the humble Bretonnian Knight. If you do not know how to paint a Bretonnian Knight, how in God's name are you meant to paint an entire Bretonnian army? So hopefully by the end of today I will have the first ever Bretonnian Knight that I have painted that I am going to be happy and proud of, so wish me luck. Before I get into the video, huge thank you to all of my patrons. You guys are absolutely amazing. Without you guys, I would not be able to continue doing what I am doing. If you're interested in getting involved with that, there's links in the description below. We'll take you straight there. You get access to things like a private Discord server and an extra video every single week just for you guys. So if that's something that interests you, go and check that out. Okay, without further ado, let's get working on a knight. Okay, so here is one of my original Knights of the Realm. I literally bought and assembled this miniature literally 20 years ago. So the other day, when I had a bit of spare time, I laser cut out some new bases. The guesstimation new size, 30 by 60. Hopefully they're right. If they're not, I will change them later down the road, but hopefully they're right. And this is actually the original black spray. So I'm actually going to spray it black again and then give it a little coat of grey sear as well, just to get it to that point that I really like enjoying starting painting from. If you watched a bunch of my videos, you'll know that this is my preferred starting point. Now, obviously choosing a Bretonnian color scheme is something that is not easy. There's so many different schemes out there. I mean, back in the day, it was always a really kind of complicated and daunting thing. The old style of painting Bretonnian armies was to, each member of the unit was from a different household and had its own heraldry and everything like that, which was a super cool aesthetic, but for me, a super unachievable thing. Even today, it's not something that I wish to do. I'm going to stick to either one color scheme across an entire army, or I will do each unit having its own scheme. I haven't really decided which just yet, but maybe I'll figure that out as this video goes on. So as for the first video of my Knights of the Realm, I decided I wanted to do something that I've wanted to do for years, and that is base the scheme off of Orlando Bloom's character from Kingdom of Heaven. So that beautiful kind of Knight Templar scheme with the baby blue and the kind of cream. So I'm going to try and emulate that a little bit with these particular squad of knights. Whether that stretches to the entire army or not, I'm not 100% sure yet, but obviously we will take it from here and decide afterwards. That's one of the other difficulties about creating content around Bretonnians. Obviously this is a tutorial on how to paint a knight, but I don't know how many people would like to paint the knights the same color scheme as these, but hopefully it'll still be able to take some tips and tricks away about like the order in which to do painting, or the concept of, base coating everything with some contrast and getting a shade on it, doing some layering will give you a nice kind of high quality knight miniature that you would be happy to take away with and then mass produce across an entire army. Obviously, the Games Workshop have started showing off all the different articles with their ones, and the Bretonnian army that they chose is that beautiful red and black scheme, but they have that carried across the entire force. So maybe that's the direction they're going to push it. So the new army book, if army book is what they're going to be called, for the Old World start coming out, maybe we will see more unified color schemes across an entire army. But so far, all I've done is throw 3 contrasts down on it. We've done Space Wolves Grey for all the cloth. We've done Agarose Dunes for all the bits that we want to be that kind of creamy bone color. So the hooves, obviously, the lance, the square shield, or the shielding, barding parts. And then there's some other bits and pieces on the knight as well. We've also done some black for the horses. This particular horse is going to be a black horse. But obviously, horses are all come in different colors. So you can do this in brown or tan or whatever, blonde, whatever you want to do. Gargak Sewer is going to be the base coat color for all of the reins and the bridling. I don't know how to say that or if that's even the right word, but all the leather straps that hold all the bits and pieces on the horse, including the knight on the horse. This is a really great way of breaking up all those colors once again. There's a bunch of other details on the model that obviously I'm not talking about, but they're just getting painted as I go along. So for instance, when I was doing the black horse, I decided to do the scabbard of the sword black, the scabbard of the knife black on the opposite side. You know, other bits and pieces like that. As I go along, you'll notice some bits will get painted. Hopefully this will help you to just kind of follow along and do the same thing with your own knights. I was super happy to hear that they were going to be keeping a whole host of the old kits and pulling them forward into the old world game system. I definitely want that nostalgic feel, that nostalgic vibe when I'm playing the old world. I don't want to have to rebuy every old world army. I already have loads of the armies and I want to break them out. And like my Bretonnians who have sat in cases, you know, just unloved for so long, to be able to now break out this really old Knight of the Realm and give him a new lease of life, a new paint job, and from him suddenly being this thing that was left unloved and uncared for years will now become this thing that is quite precious to me. As long as the paint scheme kind of works out and the model looks good at the end, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But becomes quite precious to me and will then make me want to, you know, power forward and get the rest of those models kind of painted. It would have been a sad thing if the Bretonnians had been redone and all of the models had been redone, and then those cases that I've been saving for years, telling myself that I'll go back and paint the Age of Sigmar maybe, just continue to get left, never touched again. So I have started a huge project. I've been laser cutting for a couple of days now, getting all the different bases and trays that I'm going to need for the current models that I own for my Bretonnian force. So far it's looking like about 40 knights. About 100 men-at-arms and archers and stuff like that. Even a huge unit of battle pilgrims with a Grail reliquary. Very excited by that. Louis Leoncoeur, I'm going to get him painted up. Although Louis Leoncoeur is a kind of a funny one because he's such an awesome model and I definitely want to get him painted up. But as the new old world setting is based, I think, a few hundred years before the end times, Louis Leoncoeur hasn't been born yet. So I don't really know how that works out. So I want to get him painted anyway. I'm going to put him on a new 50mm by 50mm base. That's just a guess as to whether that's the correct size for him. He might be on a 60 by 60. I don't know. But it'll be a fun piece to have in the collection anyway. I think it's important to get those old models painted. I'm going to paint up my old Green Knight, but I imagine they're probably going to do a new version of the Green Knight. So getting the old one done before they announce the new one will hopefully, you know, it'll cause me to get it done. And then obviously I'll replace it with the new one as it comes out. But yeah. Another thing that I don't tend to do in videos is show you guys how I do my basing, but that's something that I'm going to do in this video. I'm going to show you. I use the Dark Earth from AK to put a layer of texture paste on. And this particular scheme is what I'm going to use for every single base across every single one of my old world armies. They're all going to get the same brown base, and that's just the end of it. It's going to make it really simple to do, and it's going to match in with that traditional old world aesthetic. Now, while the shade and the basing material are drying for a little bit, I thought I would take a moment out of making this video to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is Air Hobbies. Air Hobbies has now become a continuous sponsor of the Mediocre Hobbies channel, and we thank them from the bottom of our heart for that continued support. They are an epic independent stockist store here in Ireland. They carry an absolutely astonishing range of products. If you're curious about what that astonishing range of products is, I will leave links below where you can go over to their website and check it out for yourself. They literally keep adding stuff to their stock week on week on week, so every week you can check back with them and see the amazing expansions to their range. They have saved my bacon on more than one occasion with their next day delivery in Ireland, which is just something pretty much unheard of in most other stores. Obviously I am constantly making content around certain products, so if I run out of glue or paint or spray, it's not just an inconvenience, it's a really big problem for certain projects that have deadlines and stuff. So being able to order some stuff up and have it show up the next day for me is a huge benefit. Like I said, they share on their social media every single Saturday the increases to their range and all the new things that they have brought out. So if you are curious, don't forget to check back with them and see if it's something that will interest you, whether it's paints, miniatures, board games, airbrush stuff, cromlech. They just keeps adding and adding and adding. So I promise you won't be disappointed by this awesome thing. So once again, thank you very much, Air Hobbies, for sponsoring today's video. Alright, the knight is now base coated, washed, and some basic material has been put on the base. I'm going to finish off the base now. Well, the paint on the base. I'll add some tufts and stuff later on. I start with Rise of Rust, and I apply that as a dry brush all over the AK texture paste. So think about that. It's like, it's a really rich, vibrant, like nice, earthy tone that I'm going for the base. And I think that will carry, like I said, across all of the old world armies really nicely. And it's so simple to do. One coat of AK Interactive Dark Earth texture paste. Dry brush it with Rise of Rust when it's dry, 100% dry. Obviously dry brush is quite a rough technique, so if it's not dry you are just going to scrape the paste back off again. That's not something that you want to do. After the Rise of Rust is dry, a really light dry brush of Screaming Skull, just to once again add a little bit of brightness back into those basing. So you can see it's a really light pass. Once again, it's not going to look like a bony base or anything like that because there's so many browns and warmer toning with the orange. It's just going to blend in really nicely and act like a little highlight for those colors. And once that bone dry brush has happened, all we're going to do is add a bit of black around the rim. Very simple, very easy, but it will neaten up the base immensely. And it just looks so, the word I use is swish. It just looks really neat and tidy, and that's lovely. That's one of the things I'm really excited about by the base styles that I've gone for with these guys, with these MDF bases that I've cut out, is that when I sit this unit, at least model, into a tray with a whole bunch of other models painted to match it, it will create this one solid piece of ground on earth that it'll all look great. The beveled edges kind of break up that aesthetic for me. It's something I've never really enjoyed, so this is going to look really good. Okay, the first thing that I'm now going to do is work on that baby blue color. So we've gone up to the fang, and I'm going to give it a quick layer job on all of the blue fabric. Now, we're not looking for this completely opaque color. We're not trying to like a solid block, you know, toilet. It's a fabric, and I want to basically carry that kind of fabric look through. So if we kind of go in one direction with a sharp pointed brush, kind of like a little bit of feathering but a little bit heavier, you are going to go for quite a lot of coverage. But like I said, if you see some of the other color kind of shining through, that is okay. That's kind of what we want. This is not a Space Marine's armor. This is not something that's been like lacquered paint or anything like that. This is fabric and cloth. So once that blue is on, we are going to jump up to the brighter blue, which is rust gray, and we're going to basically do the exact same thing, but we're going to go lighter again. This is once again going to play into that kind of feathering technique. A little bit of a scratchy result. And it's just going to add a little bit of extra color into those highlights and look really cool. I would like to know whether you guys would like to see this kind of scheme played across an entire force, or if you think I should do every single unit a different color. Like that's what I'm going to do with my Cities of Sigmar army. Every unit's going to be from a different city, so I get to explore and enjoy loads of different color schemes. And that's something I'm not opposed to doing with my Bretonnian force. Or maybe just certain units could be certain colors. You know, the ground knights could be quite special, so they've got a special color scheme, but the majority of the knights have this blue color scheme. I don't know, it's something that I'm playing around with a lot. I would also like to know in the comments how many people are excited for the old world, and for when the old world comes back, what are they most excited about? I mean, it's going to be a really big thing for this to come back, at least for me, and I'm hoping a lot of people feel the same way. They've shown off, what is it, 6 or 8 armies they're going to be focusing on to start with, and I've had a lot of people complain about this concept. You know, we're not getting Skaven, we're not getting vampires to start with. It's to start with is the key point there. I would much rather have the small dedicated team that they have for the old world focus on 6 or 8 books with the time they have than try and do 20 books. I'd rather have 6 or 8 quality books than 20 just not very good books. That means they can focus on bringing in a couple of miniatures kits and stuff. And then as campaigns and as things progress and as the rules move on, they will add in the rest of the force. If you think they're not going to bring back Skaven and vampires and stuff, some of these really key point armies that are super amazing in the story, and they usually play quite a large part in the game system itself, then you're insane. They will absolutely do it. They're just making educated decisions on what they want to start with, and then they'll go from there. I am sorry if you are someone that, for instance, absolutely loved the old world. It was your favorite thing in the world, but you were just a solid Skaven player. That was all you were into. That's all you loved. And now you find out that they're coming back and they're not going to be focusing on it. I know that's kind of hard. I know it's kind of crappy, but it is what it is. I think we just have to kind of accept things. I would have definitely enjoyed a Skaven army or a Vampire Counts army, and those are things that I will do. But I'll do them when it is time. I've got enough other cool armies to focus on. I'm going to be definitely doing Bretonnians and Beastmen as my first good and first bad army for the old world, and then I'll take it from there. Wood elves for me is something that's been nagging in the back of my head, so perhaps wood elves will be a thing. Perhaps I'll do some dark elves. I was working on a dark elf force when the end times was kind of happening. That was one of the armies I was actually constantly working on. I didn't get very far in it, but I did buy quite a lot of it. So I would not be against returning to those and getting them finished up. There's some cool units in that. So here is the model, which is starting to look really sweet. I'm really happy with how it looks. We're going to go into Ironbreaker now and highlight up all of the metallic parts of that. So all the gold, all the silver. But we're not going to go quite heavy. Like I said, these are not elves. These are not gleaming. These are, battle-hardened soldiers. They're supposed to be a little bit gruff looking, a little bit scratched up looking. So as you can see, I'm only doing really light highlights on the metallic parts. When it comes to the chainmail, it's just a couple of passes, like a dry brush almost. That's all I'm doing. The raised areas will just get a little bit brighter. That's all I'll focus on. When it gets to the gold, it's going to be the same thing. I'm just going to add a few sharp edges, detail to it. The fleur-de-lis symbol kind of thing on the nose of the horse's armor. That's another thing that I have to be careful of. Adding too much detail into a miniature that is, a basic troop of a Warhammer army. Warhammer armies tend to be quite miniature heavy. Not sure if that's going to be the case in this new old world game, but usually it is. I got some Black Templars crosses and applied them on transfers, and I think they turned out absolutely fantastic. I stuck a few grass tufts and a few flower tufts onto the base. These actually aren't glued on because I'm not really sure what direction I want to take all the bases as a whole, but just to give you guys an example of a finished model, I decided to do that. They can be pulled off if I need to do it for something else. And there we have it, my first ever finished Bretonnian Knight that I have done. I am so pleased with myself. I'm so happy and I love it. Here's a quick example of what it looks like in its unit. Obviously, I've got to get the rest of that unit painted now, right? For sure. Well, I did it. It took me just about 20 years, a bit of a long time, for a miniature to be sitting in a backlog to finish my first ever Bretonnian Knight. To be specific, this is a Knight of the Realm, the most standard and basic Knight in the Bretonnian Force. At least that's how it was back in the day. I don't know what they're going to be like when they come back now. If there'll still be Knights of the Realm and Knights Errant and Yeomans and Grail Knights and Questing Knights and Pegasus Knights and all sorts of other stuff. I can't wait to look at the book and see what Bretonnians have in store. I'm very excited for that. But like I said, yes, I finally finished my first Bretonnian Knight that I have ever painted. I'm super pleased with the result. I definitely think I've come a long way in my 20 years of painting, mostly thanks to things like contrast and shades, which have helped me immensely along the way. But yeah, seeing one of them painted in the lance formation and seeing the other 9 members of the unit sat there in black, I definitely think I'm going to be getting those painted very, very soon. I definitely want to see at least one full wedge painted very soon. As you can tell by the image, or maybe you didn't tell, I based this heavily off of the Kingdom of Heaven color scheme with the kind of baby blue cloth. I love that look so much, and I definitely want to continue that across at least that unit. I would be tempted to do it across the entire army, but I don't have that many Templar crosses left. Those transfers, it's 5 transfers per individual knight. So this unit of 10 knights would require 50 of those transfers, which is quite a lot. So I may be able to do that, and maybe one unit of I don't know, men-at-arms for that unit, and then I might switch over to a different color scheme. Bretonnians are all about mixing in different types of color schemes, so perhaps that's the idea. Or if you'd like me to see power through and try and get my hands on more crosses and do the entire army in that scheme, let me know in the comments as well. I hope you guys have enjoyed video 1 in my Bretonnian Diaries. Like I said, this is going to be a continuing series where I explore all the different units of Bretonnians that I have, which is pretty much all the units except for Mounted Yeoman, but I'll get my hands on them for you, don't worry. I basically get excited about the old world coming back. They just released the article on the first article on the rules today on Warhammer Community, so I read that feverishly trying to figure out what it looks like, and so far it's looking like the new rule set's going to be very interesting, so I can't wait for early next year to get stuck into that. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like. Ask me any questions you want in the comments below. Let me know what other units you want to see next in the Diary series. One of the ones I'm really excited about is my unit of Battle Pilgrims, which is sat here with the Grail Reliquary in it. It's quite a special unit to me, so I would quite like to get stuck into that. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel if you're not already. Check out links below for things like Patreon, and yeah, really appreciate sticking around at the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.